Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you are listening to us from. Welcome to Footprints, a podcast of and by the Mupane program of Civ Legacy. Today, our guest is the one and only Honorable Dr. Miria Koburunga Matembe in all her glory. And she's going to tell us a bit about herself. Those of you who are not from Uganda, Miria is one of our is one of our stars. She's one of those women that many young and old girls aspire to be like. And you're going to hear why when she starts to tell us who she is and part of her story. Miria, you're very welcome. Please tell us a bit about yourself. Who is Miria Matembe?
Thank you, Jackie. First of all, I'm privileged to have you as my daughter because that's what I call you.
Yes.
And I'm excited, of course, to see you. And now you are coming here to ask my story. I don't know how many times I have sung my story to you.
There are people who haven't just heard it.
But I'm glad you are here once again in this year to ask me. Now, whatever you've already said, I want to tell the people listening to me that it is only by the grace of God. It is only by the grace of God and by His power and divine that I am who I am. Otherwise, for me, Miria Matembe, Miria Koburunga, even before I came to be Matembe, I come from a very rural area. I'm a rural peasantry child.
You're a village girl, typical.
Village girl who grew up at Rutoma Wizwera Kashari, which is now called Mbarara district. I was born as a fourth child, yes, of my parents among the 9. I had 8 siblings, but as I say, by the grace of God, I'm one who is even still alive. With other two sisters and one brother who is still alive, the first brother, the rest passed on. But I want to thank the Lord that even when they passed on, I'm the one who got distinguished out of the 9 children to be who I am and to take care of all the family and those children of my siblings. And when you go in my house, you see all those weddings. I've never had a biological daughter. But when you see all those weddings taking place here, all those nieces, nephews from my brothers, sisters, and my cousins. So I must say before I go further that though rural based, but I came out blessed to be who I am. And of course, I will say I'm a lawyer, as you know, by profession, but a politician by calling.
Yes.
And of course, I'm known for my great passion in life, which is to fight for gender equality and women's empowerment. People see me as a special fighter. I mean, I'm not the one, for instance, who started this movement in Uganda. I'm certainly not the one. In Uganda here, we have our mamas who are now even passing on whose shoulder we stood, who started long ago before even maybe I was still a kid in the village. But me, when I came on the public platform to run with this cause, people there thought I'm the one who started it.
Yes.
But I didn't. Like, people think I started FIDA. But FIDA made my tombs, all those people. But for me, because of the God-given purpose, fighting for gender equality and women's empowerment, fighting for justice and fairness, and against discrimination is my childhood, my God's purpose. God created me specifically to do that. Because that thing is a childhood dream.
Yes.
And God is amazing. He gave me the biggest gift I have is my mouth.
Yes.
When I'm training people and I say, get to know your purpose, get to know your talents, get to know your skills. If you ask Matembe, what is your purpose? I will tell you, God-given purpose to fight for justice, equality, and fairness, but with specific emphasis on the girl child and the women. What is my talent? My mouth. What would I call over my skill of my what? My courage.
Oratory.
My courage, my confidence, my integrity, even my character.
Yes.
Otherwise, what other skills do I have? All I do is shout and talk, but I act,
Yes.
as you know.
Yes.
When they defy a girl, I get in real to really act and protect. So I got this childhood dream to, by 9 years, I had already made up my mind that when I grew up, I would study law. Why? Because I grew up in an environment where women were discriminated. I didn't know the word discrimination by then, but women were not treated equally as men or the girls. Because I was a girl following my brother who was a boy, and I had this experience. God brought it out to me. I could see the benefit and the opportunities which were given to this boy whom I'm following were not mine. For instance, if there was no school fees, village, peasantry people, they are planting beans, there is no rain or whatever, so there is no school fees.
Yes,
they would chase us to go back home. But my brother's fees would be found within about 2 or 3 days. Within a week for him, he would go back. But me, I would stay behind even 2 weeks. I'm waiting for my school fees. Remember, I'm 6, 7, 8 years. I can't ask anybody. Yeah, I tell you, the children these days are blessed because they urge and talk to their parents. For us, you ask nobody. And when they ask you, you answer. And when you can you ask even?
No, you can't.
So
You
it
couldn't,
was
yes.
some kind of terrorism.
Yes.
So, but in my heart, I was asking, but why? And on market days, the market days, my mom had to go to the market in the afternoon. So that means if it is a market day in the afternoon, I'm not going to school, but my brother would go to school. When it is Friday and is it Monday, my mother go for fellowship because she was a born-again woman. Now I stay home to do the home chores. I stay at home to keep the siblings. But the boy is going to school. And I was asking in me here, but why? But I didn't raise the question, but nobody would even answer me, and I put that aside. And then I could see, my mother was in Mothers Union. So I could see women would come, sit under a tree like now here. They are talking to my mother. I would see they send us, bring this, bring water. I go, I hear them. I see them crying. They are telling stories which were making my mother cry. And I couldn't ask, what is this? And besides, in my village, most of the rural women, girls, did not go to school. Only the daughters of chiefs, Gomborora chiefs, teachers, nurses, those midwives, those ones would go to school. But where I came from, around my village, the girls would not go to school. And I could say I was the one privileged. I always thank my father. At least you sent me to school. And I say thank my father, not my mother, because I don't think my mother had the right to participate in any decision to send me to school at that time. All those I could see, I could see. So down the road, what made me actually question completely and refuse all this, I had an aunt who was married, the sister of my father. He was married to, I think, a vagabond, I think. He would go away, we would say he would go to Uganda. Very far distance was Uganda,
yes,
to work as a porter. And for many months, he would stay there, and this woman was like near us. And she would take care of the children and keep the family. And then when this man came, 2 days or so, he would beat my aunt, chase her, come home, and my aunt would come home. And for us, would be happy as when she comes, they buy meat for a visitor. So we could also eat meat.
Yes.
So, but about 2 days down the road, my father would turn around against her. You useless woman. No wonder your husband is chasing you. You are useless. And then my aunt, my answer to my aunt intrigued me. She said, no, I'm not useless. I produced boys for this man. I'm not useless. I brought cows into this home. Meaning bride price.
Yes.
I say, wait a minute. The woman is useless if she doesn't produce sons, and she's useless if she doesn't bring bride price. These things were killing me. And then one day, I didn't know whom to ask or whatever. When I was like 9 years, a person I think was killed in our village. Those days, killing, murdering a person, the whole village would gather and they were saying, but in their talk, they were saying, that one will buy a pleader. I shall go a plead. You would buy a pleader. Then I said, pleader? Who is a pleader? They said a pleader is that person who pleads for others. He pleads for them. I say pleads for them. What do you have to be a pleader to plead for others? He said they study law. I said, wait a minute. I want to plead for me. Because when I was asking down the road, I came to know that those women that's how women are to be treated. That's how girls and women, there's no big deal. They beat them, they do it because they are women and girls.
After all.
I said, what? I want to plead for the women. So that is what made me study law. To know what the law is saying about this situation, and then I would plead for the women. Now, and what fired me most now, when my brother reached in P6, he was ahead of me. He repeated in P6. I found him there, despite the fact that he was getting fees all the time. We studied P6 together, we went to P7. When we reached P7, I passed to go, that is the first time in university, senior secondary school, when primary ended. It used to be 8. We were the first group that did exams with the people in P8, so that P8 stopped there. There used to be junior.
Yes, junior
P7 and so it ended. So we did exams for P7. I got first grade, since there is no camera. I got first grade, and he got second grade. So those days, second grade, you'd go nowhere. The schools were very few. So they called me to Weranyanji. You know, when you see these people who say that women, feminists are fighting because they got it from abroad, from white people, I can tell you, I had never seen a white woman. I didn't even know that white people were there. In Rutoma village, where do you know that they are white people? The first Muzungu I saw actually was when they came, I think, to interview us. We put choices. The first Muzungu came to Rutoma when we had finished T7 to interview us for Weranyanji. And of course, I got first grade, so I went to Weranyanji. And my brother, he could not go anywhere, so he repeated. Now, after repeating, when I reached senior 2, the results for my brother came, and he had first grade. My father sent my mother to Weranyanji to take me out of senior secondary school so that I can go to Kakoba Teacher Training College to study teaching, to give space for my brother to study senior secondary school, because he is a boy. Me, I am a girl. I must go to study teaching. And when they called me, I told Miss Horo, the headmistress, no, I am not leaving. I don't want to study teaching. I want to study law. And then the headmistress, can you imagine? She was a woman. But instead of pleading for me, She said, no, you know your parents cannot manage and therefore you have to go. I said, if they can't manage 2 people, why not this boy? Can't he study teaching? Why doesn't he go to Kakoba to study teaching? And me, I continue with my law. But you are a girl. Oh my God, I almost died. I asked this headmistress, I hear they are bursaries. How does one get bursary? The poor people get bursary and those orphans get bursary. I hear about them. He said, Mona, you have to go to Chief Education Officer in Mbarara. Remember, I'm 14 years.
Yes.
So I told my mother, do you think you can take me to, do you know where we can find the office? She said, oh, we can go and find the office. So I went, my mother took me to Mbarara to Chief Education Officer. And we sat there at the door. We sat at the entrance to the education officer's office. We didn't know how people enter. People would come in, open the door, enter, and go come in and open the door. And we sat there with my mother. She said, I don't speak English. I said, don't worry. I'll speak English for you. So, at the end, they opened the door. I saw the last visitor was going. I peeped there. I saw the man had left the chair. He was following the guest, to get out for lunch. As soon as he reached where we were, I stood up. Immediately I said, stood up. Then this man asked, woman, what can I do for you? Of course, asking my mother. I said, sir, I want fees. I want school fees. I want to study law. I was bursting crying. He told this man, you walk away. You walk, let me come. Let me first talk to this young lady. So we entered. I poured my story. I said, I want to study law. Why are they not? Why doesn't the boy also study teaching? Me, I don't want to go there. The man listened to me afterward. He said, okay, you go back to school. I shall send them a message. And I told my mother, did she hear? Even if they said don't go, I thought that they said you go home, I go back to school. So I go back to school, and I tell you amazingly, God is good. Within about over 4 days, the headmistress who called me to give me bad news, this time called me to give me good news. That Koburunga, you've been given bursary. And that's why I studied. At 14 years, I got myself a bursary.
Yes.
Why? Because I had a vision.
Wow.
And I studied for this bursary. When I went to HSC, that's when I studied. And that brother of mine, after all, went to Bara High School, senior 4. That was the end. And she went to study electrical technology, that kind of thing. And I'm the one who was taking care of all his children and so on. So I went to HSC, Namasagari College. That's when we studied British parliamentary history. And they are saying, so and so, MP, and A. I said, wait a minute. The law is made in parliament. I didn't know that the law was being made in parliament. When I learned that the law was made in parliament, my dream to become a lawyer was extended when I was in HSC. That when I finished studying my law, I would go to parliament and make sure I change this law. Yes. And as I talk right now, no wonder I praise God and I thank God. Yeah. Because for me, as a child, I used to Wizwera there, as I studied senior I used to imagine in my head, I was imagining a day where I could get a platform, a hero, a small hero. And I stand there and I shout and I call women and girls, come and refuse. Come. We are being cheated. Come and refuse. It was there in my head, in my life. Imagine, little did I know that one day I will not only get that platform in that village, but I will get it at the national level in Uganda, and I will get it at the African level, and finally at the international level. I just For me, I just don't know. Not only God, not only did he give me that platform, and I shouted all over. When I stood at Beijing platform, you people, I said, here I am. And I was given a subject which was the strategies to increase women's participation in politics. In fact, we wrote a book seeing women, looking at the world through women's eye. My presentation is there. And when I stood after presenting at Beijing, standing ovation. Anyway, for me, wherever I went, whether it is America, whenever I stand up to talk about this gender equality, I would get a standing ovation. People would cry. I'd see people crying. Even when I went to get my honorary doctorate degree at Vancouver University, British Columbia, Vancouver University. Victoria University in Vancouver. When I made my, what do they call it when you are receiving?
Acceptance speech.
Yeah. As I was giving it, I first read them a poem. I wrote a poem about African women. One time I stood up at the Popular Participation for Africa. It was a conference in Tanzania. And when I stood up and spoke, the next day they came out with a cartoon depicting what I was saying. So when I was receiving that doctorate, as I talked, people were crying in the audience and they all stood and bowed. And then my sister, when we finished, she was crying. She said, I wish our mother was here. So for me, I got all those international platforms. Second, I had wanted to make a law, to change the law for Uganda for women. Little did I know that I would be one of the 21-member commission that would make the mother of all laws in this country, the fundamental of the land, the Constitution. Can you imagine? God gave me that. And I made sure that Constitution which you see, I'm telling you, whatever is about women, about equality, about this mouth, I made sure I will talk whatever. I remember one time I told the chairman, Odochi, look, if you don't put that provision there, I'll stand up on this table and shout loud. And Mutibwa, I think it was Professor Mutibwa, he said, Mr. Chairman, this person is very serious, you better put the thing.
Yes.
And I didn't stop at that, but I was with Hope Message. We were on the legal and drafting committee, which put the stamp on the Constitution before it was printed and promulgated.
Yeah.
So God gave me beyond what I had dreamt. And imagine me, I had dreamt of being a lawyer, going to Parliament, making this law and that kind of thing. But in the end, did I know that I would be a minister? Then I ended up being appointed the first ever minister for ethics and integrity in this country. And ever since I established that ministry, when I left, and remember I left because of my integrity.
Yes.
When I left, did you hear that ministry there?
No.
And not only did I stop there, it was very amazing. When I refused the removal of the term limit, and the president reshuffled his cabinet and removed me, and I went to Parliament. Immediately I had reached Parliament. Me, God speaks to me. When I was to become a minister, he told me, I'm doing a new thing. This was February. And I was in America there. I was sleeping. I think I had gone to be chosen as they had sent me to be on the commission. This commission for equal, what is it called?
The status of
the
women.
status. They sent me there, and when I reached there, I said I was not going to win. Because you could see Uganda didn't have money, they had not campaigned, they had not what. And I said, but when I went to sleep and prayed, God told me, I'm doing a new thing. Now I thought I'm getting it. When we came for voting, actually I was they wanted, was it 2 people? I was the 3rd. So I never got it. So I said, God, I thought you did a new thing, but to cut the story short, that was February. Then somewhere in May, President Museveni reshuffles his cabinet and appoints minister. I was not actually here. I was in Zimbabwe. When I came back, the members of parliament were saying, you see, you travel too much. Now you missed, you are not a minister. I said, which minister are you talking? There is a minister, ethics and integrity. Then I said, ethnicity. I was making laugh of it.
Yes,
I was making laugh of it. And then they told me, no, in July, I was even sleeping here. Somebody rang, congratulations, congratulations. Those days, Museveni was not asking anybody. They were behaving like me. You are appointed on the TV. So I said, what is it? People were calling. Then I got out. Then that's when I asked my house girl, she was still in the sitting room there. Oh, what have you had on TV? They say, Dada Matembe, Dodo Matembe.
Yes.
I said, but what are they saying? Until somebody rang me he said, but you from Kampala Club, you didn't tell us, you hid these things. I said, what are the things? You are a minister. I didn't know. So in the morning, they said I was a minister. And then only to be, when we went for swearing in, they said, you are the minister for ethics and integrity. So when I had worked there for almost 5 years, very challenging in a government which wants to fight corruption. And I think President Museveni put me there because he knew my voice. He knew I would talk, and when I talk, this international community, they will know, yes, we are going to do this. And by the way, when he chose me to be the Minister for Ethics and Integrity, I said, I believe Museveni is fighting corruption. He wants to fight it. Because you can't put Matembe to be the Minister for Ethics and Integrity when you are corrupt. Because he will reveal everything. I will not keep quiet, I would say. And of course, if you read my book, this is my first autobiography, Miria Matembe, Gender, Politics and Constitution Making in Uganda, 202. In that book, I was saying I was having my freedom, I was having my peace, I talked the way I want to talk. Now they have made me a minister, and this minister which requires cabinet collective responsibility. How can I go into collective responsibility when I don't agree with what they are doing? I said, I don't know how long I will hold this ministry. Guess what? 2003, they dropped me. I said it in 2001, 2003, he dropped me because I refused the removal of term limit. But when I went back to the parliament, within about 2 weeks, the Lord told me, forget about the old things. Forget about the past. I think he said, forget about the past. I'm doing a new thing. And when I do it, I will let you know. And that was over May. Then in November, Pan-African Parliament. And when I offered myself, they elected me to go to Pan-African Parliament. And like the ministry, I established the ministry at Pan-African Parliament. We are the people who established the Pan-African Parliament. Because I remember I was the first interim deputy chairperson of Rules Committee. And then when we made the rules, I was very, very influential in making the rules because I came here and asked Ben Wacha, he was the chairperson of the rules here in Uganda. He called a committee for me and we sat and discussed how we make these rules. And I took the draft and reached there. We discussed in the committee, we passed it. Then they elected me as the first chairperson of the rules and disciplinary committee. So for 2 years there, I was there. So for me, I say, God did not only give me what I wanted in life, he gave me beyond.
Above and beyond.
Above and beyond. That's why, Jackie, it's dangerous also, I think, to have a vision and have a passion for it. When it is realized, you are done. And what is very interesting, within 20 years, I got the platform to get this vision implemented. I tell you, the moment I stepped in Parliament of Uganda, you are asking which moments. The moments I held a Bible to swear to be a member of parliament in Uganda. I said, God, you have done it. That was, of course, there were many moments when I graduated as a lawyer. Finally, I got a lawyer, but why it was not so exciting? There was no parliament that time. Amin had come in, so my dream went in abeyance. And I want to tell people listening to me, don't drop your dream.
Yes.
When, by the time I became a lawyer, Amin had taken over. There was no parliament, so my dream went in abeyance. I kept hoping one day, since I'm now a lawyer, but the excitement was not as much as when I saw to become a member of parliament. Because that one I said, I am going to run everywhere. And I made sure, those days women were not putting on like trousers. Now, as we made the rules, and we made sure make the language neutral.
Gender neutral.
Hope West Jandai, we said it must be gender neutral. This business of whatever. He, she. And by the way, remember my fight at CA. People had gathered to throw me. They had known this Matembe. Everybody who came, this is the woman. This is the woman. They were saying, this is the woman. So they were not going to, they were coming to fight me because of what I've been fighting.
Yes.
Now, when they put a prayer, they prayed for many. Thank you, God, for giving us this distinctive men of whatever. After they said amen, I said, excuse me. No. We women are here.
Yes.
We are here to fight, to make the constitution. We are not being prayed for. Where are we in that prayer? And people said, women, they said Matembe is also going too much.
Yes.
It is too much. How can she go into that? And then I remember Mama Roda Karema saying, Mwana wange, my daughter, the man includes a woman. I said, no. Let me tell you. And you know how I won? I said, this time I'm not listening to anybody because I'm here to fight for a new Uganda. And I said, if you are saying man includes woman, me, I want to tell you that it is woman which includes man. When you say woman, there is man there.
Yes.
When you say she, there is he there.
Yes.
Therefore, for that matter, let's say women and she, because we shall have prayed for all of them. But if you say man and he, we are left out.
Yes.
So we must be there. What could they do? Wapakabura loud. They changed the prayer, they put us there. So I said, I'm now. So anyway, to cut the story short, we really won. I remember when we reached parliament now, to begin the parliament within the constitution. People don't know. They want to fight for women, they want to do all this, but they don't know what it means. It was really a struggle to open people's eyes. Because I remember Honorable Karhanga had called me to talk to Rotarians about this woman thing. When I came on the public platform, leave alone that the women were already there earlier. But the platform, the atmosphere was not conducive for them to run with this gender thing. So it was not talked at all. They had never heard about it. No way. For them, they were seeing it is normal. The way women are treated is normal. The way. So they saw it. But good enough, that's why I always credit President Museveni and the NRM government. I give credit where it is due. When the NRM government came with the question of women high up on the agenda, they were saying, women, where are you? You come. I said, what? My God has arrived. I remember even fought here because when they came to elect chairman, the committee, the RCs,
yes, resistance committees,
resistance committees, I had gone to work, so I was not here. Then I came, I found a half kilo of sugar in the house. I said, where? Sugar was not there. I said, where is this sugar? The RC committee. I said, RC committee. Is the committee elected? Because I was waiting to go there. He said, no. Yeah, the committee was elected. I said, what? I appealed to the RDC Kampala. They were called DA, District Administrator. I said these people held elections when we were not there. And he came here, we went, and the people came, and I said, how can they choose people when we are not there? So when they saw us, these Kamani villagers, they said, let us separate the committee. Those people who are within walls and fences, let them choose their committee. So that's how now Ruzindana and I, Ruzindana was elected the chairperson, I was elected the secretary for the... So that's how we began.
Yes.
You know, in what I'm saying is this. When you speak and you have a passion for what you want, you'll get it. The only thing I didn't get was the removal of the term limit, because I was fighting now the people who had their own personal interests. So we managed to get on that thing. No, so when we went to Parliament to start implementing the Constitution, I went wearing trousers. I made sure that in the rules we said decent dressing. And I was, everything for me, whatever we are making,
yes.
It was intentional. I was looking, how is it going to impact on women? How is it going to impact on women? So I said decent dressing. So the next day I came in a trouser. Imagine Karanga who loved me so much, because Karanga, first time he called me to address Rotarians. When I went, I addressed Rotarians. From that day, Karanga said, oh, now we know what you mean. So all the Rotarians, they said, okay, this is it. Because, you know, I asked them, I said, tell me, I got this chart and I said, tell me what people think about women. Tell me what society thinks about women. Tell me, what does society think about women? In the first place, there was silence. They didn't come out quickly to say. Then eventually, they started saying they are weak, they are lazy, they are witches, they gossip. The whole list of negative was written on that chart. Then I said, so, what does society think about men? Oh, immediately, very quickly. Men are men. They are breadwinners. They are brilliant. They are clever. Everything on men was positive. Positive. And I came to know, oh, so society doesn't think about women even. They are just there, like garbage. They are there. Society was not thinking about them, but it was thinking about men. Then I said, okay, that is thinking. Now tell me, in practical terms, who are women? And they started listing all these positives. They listed all the positives. And when they went to the men, they found actually men were the ones not doing much. They say breadwinner, but you have told me the women are the ones who make plantation, who cook, who do what, which bread is he winning? So after that, and it was like 30 minutes, this Rotarian said, Matembe, you have a cause. And Karanga said, I will certainly run with you. I said, the biases, we must remove the biases on women, and we look at the practical, what the practical value and role of a woman. So it opened their eyes. But when we came to, this wound, to the dressing in Parliament, or even in CA, there was a man who stood up and said, I support the cause for women, I support it, they should be treated well also as equal human beings, and so on and so forth. And then there comes the citizenship. When we had said yes, when a Ugandan marries a foreigner, the man becomes a citizen. And when the woman also, the man marries a wife, the wife is a citizen. This very man stood up and said, no, we cannot afford those men to come and take away our land. Once the man marries a woman, let her take her. Let him take her. She can't be a citizen. This somebody who had said, I support women.
Yes.
So they supported, but they didn't understand. So now Karanga stood up. Imagine my supporter stood up and said, order. There is Matembe Simanyi's dressing, not wear, or whatever he said. So they said, before they rule you out of order, you substantiate. So I stood up, I said, I picked the rule. I said, decent dressing. I said, now, the rule talks of decent dressing. How am I indecently dressed? If I'm indecently dressed, my brother Karhang is indecently dressed. Because he's in a trouser suit, I'm in a trouser suit. So he's also indecently dressed. They said, they said, I'm okay, I'm decently dressed. So we want that one. You know, smaller things, you'd think that is small. The next day, Kazwe came in his trouser. And that's how we started putting on trousers, I'm telling you. When you see these young women putting trousers, putting everything, they think it was automatic. We fought for all this. So for me, I think I have said everything. Because within the 20 years, when I started as LC1, I went through very, very shortly, I was the chairperson, the first woman to hold a position which was not called for, which was saying that is not for women. In other words, when there was affirmative action, all positions on the committee, there were 9. Women were eligible to take them.
Yes, of course, yes.
But they were seen as only for men except one. And yet for men, they were eligible to 8 positions except one.
Yes.
But the situation was such that even in certain areas, even the secretary for women was a man. That is how bad the situation was. People who don't know where we have come from, that's how bad the situation was. In Kabare, where they put men would come as secretary for women's affairs, taking the position. But me now here in Kampala, in 1997 to 98, yes, I became I was elected vice chairperson of the whole Nakawa division. So that was breaking a ceiling because they were not seeing us to take that. And then when I reached the Kampala district, I was elected the secretary for mass mobilization and education. You can imagine, I wanted to be vice president. They fought to me, I almost got no seat, and they were tribalistic, Catholic propaganda. But I raised a strategy, I devised a strategy which helped me to win a position. And what position did I win? I think that's what God wanted me to do. Use my mouth. Secretary for Mass Mobilization and Education. And I stood on that platform, I tell you. In this Kampala district, which home didn't I sort out? I went mobilizing. Even when I was the secretary for the village, secretary for village, it took just 3 days. Because within 4 days, we went to elect the parish. And then I was told, when you are secretary for women's affairs, that's your position. So I left the other one, I became secretary for women's affairs. Before we went to Nakawa to choose to elect me as vice chairperson, I had already called all these women in this area. I had already talked to them about gender equality. I have already called which every family reached there explaining these things. And then when I became Nakawa vice chairperson, when I see all these Chanja, Chuwatiri, all those places were just bush, and I would walk there. By then I was a lecturer at Uganda College of Commerce, which eventually became MOOBS. From office, at times in the evening, I would walk all the way to Chanja, where settle cases. When they beat women, I would go there and settle the cases. And so the name Matembe was everywhere in the papers, and they were describing me, Vanang. Every bad word to describe somebody. But I tell you, I was so determined. I had got what God had given me, and I was going to use it, and I used it to the maximum ability.